Bum, 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 ba-da-ba-do-do-do. Oh, you're fine, kitty. Boop. Alright. One sec. One sec. Alright. Hello, everybody out there in the internet land. I successfully made my computer not die. Even though it clearly wanted to. Hi, princess. Yes. Hello, Ghostly. Hi, he's alive. It's alive. Yeah, apparently my computer got stuck in like a update boot loop. So, it just kept booting over and over again and wouldn't go to the Windows side. So it got something. My Mac side might be broken. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, how's it going, everybody? How was your week? Happy to see you, matey. Good to see you as well, Ghostly. How has the week been? How hast thou's week? Oh, you're right in the mic, child. Oh, princess. How you be this fine December day? I be alright. I definitely got sick or something hit me this week. But luckily it only, like, knocked me out for a day, so that's good. Okay, you guys stop yelling at the mic. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing alright. A little behind on life things. I also discovered the script I sent out back in November to everybody had some major errors in it. So I had to do a scramble. Please don't read the script if you haven't already. I'm going to send you an updated draft and have been desperately trying to fix the errors I have caught in that script. So it's been a little bit of a week, but not too bad. Not too bad, but I completely forgot to update the stream title and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. I'm in my melancholy artist aura. Vibes are perpetual rain, but vibes. Oh no, Ghostly, that's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that you're in the artist, the melancholy. It happens to the best of us, though. But I will be finishing your story this stream, so if hopefully that's for you to look forward to. Since I'm almost done with it, so I'm going to use the sprints to finish it. I'm going to be deranged college professor mode today. So that'll be what we're doing. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. At least for the first part of the stream. We'll see if I finish it before that. I'll probably shift over to continue fixing my thing. But yeah, I went back. I was on the Jonathan and B chapter, and I went back to go reread a little bit around the Henry, and now I'm in the middle of the Henry chapter, Henry and Johanna chapter. So I'm already liking the way it's starting off with the Martha Stewart cookbook. So I'm excited to see what things you. Although it is going to be I'm very curious to see how you're going to top. I'm sure you do, but boy do I love that Carrie chapter. So we'll see. The Carrie and Rod chapter is great. So I'm interested to see how you update your beats, because that the way that chapter ends is simultaneously very, very funny. But I'm trying to see if the joke's gonna get, you don't want to repeat the joke too much, but the way that you have the lumberjack at the end of that just kills me. It's very, very it made me laugh very, very hard. Very hard. So it's the joke at the end of that is good. I'm very excited to see how you build on it, though. So we will see. Yeah, that's a ride. I wasn't sure if it's just stupid. I mean, it's all stupid, but it's all funny and stupid and great. So, there's nothing wrong with being stupid. So that is what I will be doing, and then I'll probably give you my feedback for it. But I'm pretty sure we'll see. I'm trying to withhold most of my notes and everything till when I finally finish it, so I can just give it to you in like one lump sum instead of just piecemealing without having finished it, because I know there's a very specific thing that you're concerned with, whether or not it works. So I kind of want to wait till I see how that works before I give you any more feedback. I am often in an echo chamber of my mind where I question if it's actually funny or not. That's just comedy in general. You know, I don't generally find myself to be like a comedic, like a writer. I just don't do comedy. It's not a thing that I can do, like absurd things. There's things that make me laugh, but I just don't think I'm a particularly funny writer. So Opera Soria, subscribe to tier 2. always the king. Oh, thank you, Opera Soria. There, Pixel Bob, delightful. Everybody misses Opera Soria, but look at that shine coming in with the love, as always. Everybody wishes Opera Soria well. I'm sure if Oizel popped in and saw that, she would be so sad to have missed that. I miss you. I wish you well. Yes. Rod's line about I'm not gay, but Billy Loomis made me think about it. It's a good line. I mean, there's a lot of good lines. I mean, it's also good, like, flirty lines too, with you know, the marry me to the I'm holding out for Brad Pitt and who was the other one? Yes. But anyway. Anywho. Yes, Ghostly is the light of the stream. Light of the stream. They're terrible people, perfect for each other. That is great. But not you, Wildlight. That's fair. Yes, that's... you have to deal with my face too much to miss me. It's fair. It's fair. Yes, they are absolutely terrible people, deserving of each other in the best way, though. You nailed, but you're good at character writing, so you're good at lining up the characters, creating, kind of living in their world and embodying them. So it's good. And not being, like, judgy about it, even though they are terrible people. So that's always good, that if you can view them empathetically and sympathetically, it makes for better characters. Even when you're doing something that you think is, like, dumb and silly, it's always a good way to approach writing those characters. So you're not kind of not poking fun with them. You're letting them poke fun at themselves, but you're not kind of, like, on high poking fun at them. Because then they stop being an interesting character and they just kind of start being a punching bag. So I think you do that really well. And I've decided I'm keeping the precursor. You've discovered a new thing. Okay, interesting. All right, well, we'll get back to my thoughts on the precursor. I mean, I've given you a little bit of them already. But I'm withholding anything about the precursor until I finish it. So that'll be what we do today, is I shall finish it, and then I will cast my final judgment. But if you've already decided, clearly you've seen something new. I was leaning towards you keeping it, but mainly because I think it defines the characters in a really, it defines both the context and the characters a little bit better. But I do like the way it started initially, but it lets you get to know them a little bit more. I just think it goes on too long. But all right, well, we might as well just get down to it and start our sprints. For all of you, happy writing. For me, happy reading. And yeah, I like the cliche of the character that talks the most trash going missing. Oh yes, that's true. That is true. That's smart. It's good for a whodunit too. Although I was kind of getting by, that's actually one of the things I like about Jonathan at this point, because Jonathan's just so smug and talking so smug, like, is the most, like, everybody needs to pay attention, I'm in charge here, and it seems like, you know, really coming across as knows the absolute least, and is just totally blind in his own point of view of things. He's such a prick. Yeah, he really is. Yeah, it's really good, and I do love the takedown that we're all just terrible, self-obsessed, vice-ridden, like, terrible novelists. It's good. It's good, Ghostly. It's a fun. It's a fun thing. I have a feel after I finish reading it, I'll give you my full allotment of notes. But I'm pretty sure you my advice to you, if you want to take any advice from internet folk, is that I think you should double down and clean it up and polish it as much as humanly possible, and definitely submit it. Definitely submit it to a mystery magazine. This would be a fantastic little like novella short to put before a collection of mysteries as a sort of self-deprecating comedy. I could see it being curated. Like I could see it fitting really well into a sort of collection of shorts. But I definitely think at some point you should try to submit this to something. But we'll see. We'll see if you stick the landing, Ghostly. It's self-deprecation at its finest. Yes, it is. It's you don't want to be too self-deprecating, but it's healthy to have a little bit of it. So, all right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and kick off. I want to get done. I promised Ghostly I'd have this read by Friday, and dagnammit, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it done. So anyway, let me actually. I'll just update the stream thing later. It's fine. All right. We're gonna get to work. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I have the utmost faith in you, Ghostly. All right. Happy writing, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. Where the hell is my timer? There we go. Let's get it done. Boop, boop, boo. Oh, there you go, Ghostly. You got it. Yes, perfect. What do you need it updated to? Swab, I say. Wait, did I say I needed it updated? What did I need updated? Did I just babble on? I don't think I need... Oh, are you talking about the update? No, I think on my Mac side, you're talking about my computer problem? I don't know what happened there. Oh, no. Oh, the stream being updated? No. The stream... Oh, I was updating the name of the stream. Oh, the stream title, yeah. It's the same title as the last stream because I didn't go in and change it. But even though I change it now, it's on the VOD, it goes back to the old one, so I'll just change the VOD title when I'm done. It's fine. It just says work. It's fine. It's not a big deal. All right. Happy writing, everybody. And we will see you on the other side. Happy writing. is the end of that sprint. Hopefully the writing was productive. Or I guess in poor Ghostly's case, the editing. as it seems like Ghostly is struggling. But welcome in, Artemis Point. Welcome in, welcome. I am Wylite. I generally am a screenwriter and filmmaker living in LA. But today I am reading Ghostly's Who Done It. So for today's sprints, I will be probably for the most part reading, but I'll probably be switching over to the script if I manage to get the reading done before the end of the stream. But yeah, what kind of things do you write, Artemis Point? What do you like to read? What do you like to write? Ghostly is always struggling. I don't know, Ghostly. Sometimes you're on fire. You're just a force to be reckoned with. I don't know if you're always struggling. You might always be struggling to contain the wild ferocity within, but yes, I do think the way you write does not lend itself to making editing easy for you. So, but sometimes that's just how it is. We all feature or enjoy different aspects of the process. You know. Artemis, love everything. Characters, dialogue, over explosions anytime. Oh, good. Over explosions anytime. So you write, so focusing heavily on characters and dialogue. Less of an action-oriented writing. Look, sometimes I get my hands on NyQuil and sometimes they cut me. That's when you become your character Maximilian, Ghostly, is you just write for a week straight and then just knock yourself out with NyQuil. Don't actually do that, by the way. I mean, if you're sick and taking NyQuil, it's actually why I don't take NyQuil even when I'm sick anymore, which I probably should because I struggle to sleep when I'm ill. But yeah, that stuff does funky things, man. Still love conflict though, for sure. Oh yes, well, it's a type of conflict. Some would even argue that it's easier to write explosions and sort of broad sorts. Oops, I forgot to start the down timer. Broad sort of conflict than like internal dynamic conflict. It's usually much more compelling because we're more used to it as people. Fighting aliens isn't the most relatable experience for us to have. Look, they tell us the best stories are based off experience. They do. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Not just experience, but it needs to be relatable, which means that the foundational emotions need to be relatable. I think that's why you see so often it's, they're fighting aliens, but the real struggle is like the person, the character learning how to communicate with their child while the alien thing's happening. It's a lot of that. That's why they try to ground broader action movies, which sometimes is just at odds with itself and becomes trite and kind of not particularly interesting, but sometimes it's done well. Though I'm proud to say all my ravings are spouted entirely cone-souled sober. That's a well done, Ghostly. Solid wordplay there. Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, that's a thing that I have as well. Which living out here in Los Angeles, it's definitely Ghostly. A. Living out here in LA, you can definitely a lot of people do a lot of the drugs. Not a lot, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, it doesn't help me at all. I don't know. I mean, I don't function on anything. Pretty much, like I can't even. I have to take like CBD when I'm having like an anxiety attack, and that's about as far as I can go. I can't even really function on any kind of intoxicant except for caffeine, I guess. But they say the things I write make it seem like I've done a lot of acid, so I'll take that as a compliment. I don't need drugs to be cool. Exactly, Ghostly. Exactly. You don't need to be like those artists. I mean, yeah, that is kind of like a trend with artists is like not just like artists, in drugs, but a lot of times it's like to be a writer or a poet, you need to, be an alcoholic and a miserable person and your life needs to be an utter disaster, you know. There's a great quote by David Lynch where he talks about that I love where someone asks if do you have to be miserable to be an artist or do you have to like be in pain, and he was like, no, that's what empathy's for. I was like, yeah, that's the whole point. You need to be able to understand what it's like to be in pain, and then you can empathize. You don't need to make your life a living trash fire. I think it just happens that sometimes writers tend to have lives that are living trash fires because writers aren't necessarily known for being the most well-adjusted people in the world, artists in general. But see, I think it's peak talent to write and sound like you're high, high as a kite, but for that to be just your brain. I agree, Ghostly. That's kind of what I'm aiming for as a person who does not do psychedelics. If people are like, you seem like you do a lot of psychedelics, I take that as a compliment. I definitely do. What that might mean is that I'm just naturally tripping all the time. I do remember my brother one time telling me that when someone was like, "Oh, do you do shrooms or do acid?" And I was just like, "No, no." And he was like, "He shouldn't do any of that. He should not do any of those drugs," which was good, Dare worked. Um, the funniest part of my life is one of the biggest struggles. The funniest part is one of my biggest struggles are my words. It's not the coping mechanism; it's the problem. Ah, interesting. Interesting. So your problem is with words? Is that with you being like in terms of speaking, or is that in terms of writing that you have a hard time? You just have a hard time communicating, both written and verbally. I definitely. I used to think I had equally as much trouble writing down, communicating what I meant in words, like writing it down versus speaking it, and now it's just kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I feel I'm definitely a lot more articulate in the written word than I am. I think I just babble and will kind of ramble on and on and on um, when I'm talking, versus where it's very I feel a little bit more like coherent and articulate when I've written. But I don't think that's like the peak of the way I communicate. It's probably why I got into filmmaking. It's like images for me. I mean, half the things I write down are trying to describe images. I'm in the both club. I see, Artemis Point. You're in the yep both. I got that. Oh no, you just meant the struggle of a writer. Gotcha. Yeah. The struggle of a writer, which is to find the words or find the perfect words. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's just finding the words that it's hard. There's like learning the craft of writing and how you can utilize rules and things like that to elicit emotions and kind of understanding the nature of how words work, how words work on the mind to try to elicit emotion, like to pull the reader in. But I also think half of it is just finding the words that amuse you and refining that, or the words that do what you like, and then refining that and then kind of going from there, because that's kind of your voice overall, isn't it? It's the way that you prefer to describe things, or the way that you prefer to see things. That is your voice. And if the point is to create art using your voice, then why not just double down on that? I feel like an Ouroboros, if I make sense. Okay, yeah. Constantly eating my own tail and never being satisfied, yeah, or satiated. I think that's all artists. I think we all are always going to be chasing something, or devour. Yeah, you're always you're. I don't think you're ever going to be satisfied. I mean, why would you? You're going to stop writing at that point. If you are satiated with, or like satisfied with what you create, what you're always going to be like, there's something more to do or that needs to be done. It can either be better or there's something else that needs to be told. So you kind of would stop creating the moment that you catch it, or at least maybe like you'd stop having the interest in it, you know. I don't know. It's interesting. It's the never-ending story, cried. I do like this weird, unhinged smiley face, Ghostly. It's very unhinged, which seems very on brand. Uh, it's just kind of a smiley face, but it's also just like, ah! I enjoy. Yes. Yeah, indeed. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. Reach this guy. Yeah, I think that's kind of when I get really down on myself about the stuff I've done and all that. I try to remember that, you know, the moment that you are satisfied with the thing, then you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose the passion of it. It's always you're always gonna be like, I can do it better, or I actually want to do something else. This story no longer like has the resonance, or this type of thing has the resonance for me anymore. I want to do something else. I think you're always gonna be chasing a thing. Reach the sky, do 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 do. Never ending story theme. I love that movie. Down. That movie's Never Ending Story is probably like the best '80s kids movie. I definitely would. I would pick Never Ending Story over the Henson, which is as a person who likes the Henson movies. Like, I would probably put Never Ending Story over like Labyrinth or Dark Crystal. I mean, Dark Crystal's an insane story. I just like the puppets, but yeah, I think Neverending Story is probably the best. Artax, I know. Artax. I mean, that, like, and that movie had some deeply traumatizing stuff in it. Like, deeply and horrifying. The wolf will always freak me out. Never seen it. My mom refused to let me watch it because she hated the idea of a story that never ended. Is that real, Ghostly, or are you joking? Is that a real thing? Please tell me that you've seen. No, you've had to have seen it. You're doing the never-ending story theme. You've had to have seen it because that is a great joke. I was gonna say if you haven't seen it, you absolutely have to watch it. It's a fantastic movie. And Artax is one of the coolest puppets ever. That is a really great joke. Okay, alright, looks like we're about ready to get started on our next sprint. So, let us go ahead and get ready to dive back into it. Back to work, everybody. back to the words. Alright. Oh, that's not a joke, Ghostly? Okay. That's deeply funny. It does in fact end. I mean, I guess I feel bad that your mom hated the idea of that, but you should absolutely watch The Neverending Story. It's a great movie. I love my mom. I know you meant mom. I mean, that is your mom. Your mother does sound delightful. That is, and that's also really cute. But she's like, I refuse to watch that movie because I hate the idea of a never-ending story. Yeah. Unlike literally every major anime out there that everybody watches that will never, ever, ever, ever end. And that's also why. Nay. Oh, you call her Moth? Oh, that's cute. That's a cute little name for your... Oh, that's adorable. All right, everybody. Let us get back to the words. There's going to be an ad break at the very end of this sprint, so obviously feel free to mute so you don't get interrupted by stupid advertisements. It'll pop up probably about 27 minutes, so just feel free to mute. All right, everybody, let's get to the writing. Happy writing, and away we go. right, everybody, that is the end of that sprint. Go ahead and start the down timer here. Bring the music down. There we go. Oh, all right. Woo! Okay. Yeah, I mean, the descriptions are functional. I can tell they're not the thing I can tell that they are not they're not what you clearly aren't passionate about room descriptions. But they're not bad and they're short. They're short. I think it's hard to say because they do serve a purpose. No, that was terrible. I wanted to die. I guess it's hard. If it's really bad, like if you're really struggling with it, try to focus on the character, what the character, like how the character themselves are experiencing the room through their own point of view. So at that point, like, you know, with B going through the kitchen and all, like into the dark kitchen and all that kind of stuff around the table, like you're kind of already doing it. But if you're having a really hard time, like maybe hyper fixate on a weird thing about the room that B fixates on, or something that you can still find, that like still piques your sort of sense of humor, because you're very good at being in the character's headspace. So maybe keeping the room descriptions in the character's headspace. The only problem with doing that is that, like, you struggle with people having a totally clear idea of the geography of a space. The only thing that kept me going with that chapter was B getting to fluster the murder man. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was good. I mean, and you had the goldfish, which is a great little bit, and that gives you a lot of weird things to play with there. I was a little concerned about messing up the weird POV I have going on. Not there. I'm not done with the Theo Jonathan chapter yet, but you get a little funky with the POV in that, as far as I can tell. But I'm not done with the chapter yet. But you do get a little weird. You are getting a little funky with the POV there, switching back and forth, which makes sense. You need to, but I would probably, for clarity's sake, just call the masked man Theo, even though Jonathan, because I know you're in Jonathan's headspace. It's just weird because we're automatically going in and out, and you're having to struggle with actually showing the masked man's feelings and intentions about what he's doing. A little bit. You're still trying to play coy with it a little bit, so that might need to be cleaned up a little bit. But I'm not done with the chapter yet, so I'm not gonna pass judgment on that. But it did, once Theo confronts Jonathan, it's a little abrasive, popping out of his perspective, because you're like in his perspective very clearly, and I'm like, oh, I get to see what Theo's thinking about this whole thing and how weird that scene was with B, and then immediately it's back to strange murder man doing strange murder things, because it's back to Jonathan's perspective. So there is one other note I'll give you, and this is a really dumb semantic note that I used to get all the time because I have characters have similar names, but calling Jonathan John and Johan is trouble because you're literally just switching two words or two letters. And so just that, it's because if you're reading carefully, you understand what's happening, but you will get people who are reading Johan as Jonathan and Jonathan as Johan, and they will get confused by that. I wanted the beginning to be from Theo because I like the idea of Jonathan trapping him a bit. Yeah. No. I think it works going, like, starting with Theo. You just want to maybe make that more clear. And Jonathan's entrance into that scene is fantastic. And he, like, his little... But it's also so pompous. It's such a pompous... But it's so dumb. It's really good, though. Just the creaky board and then him turning around like he's a super villain with a chess set. It's pretty good. I realized that early on, but I like both names too much to change. Yeah, it just might be a note you get. It's terrible. I love him. Yeah, he's simultaneously lovely and insufferable at the same time, which means you're writing the perfect Brit. So you're definitely succeeding by writing the perfect Brit. Alrighty. Ba-ba-ba. Yes, I've been uncertain about what to call the masked man throughout this whole thing. Yeah, I would call him, the Tort. Oh, really? Oh, thank you, Artemis. Thank you. Yeah, and Artemis just redeemed Stretch. I like that you like the Tort coin. That is based off the otter Tort, who's sitting back there above my large orange cat. But that is Tort. That is what the Tort coin is based off of. But right. So everyone, be sure to stretch. And I'm gonna stretch. It actually feels good. Oh god. Oh, my old man bones. I've been uncertain about what to call the masked man throughout this whole thing. Yeah, I think. Yeah, masked man. It's very generic. Well, because also the other problem is you have really clever bits where you get to hear what each individual. I think what might be interesting is you have kind of what each individual character calls him or has a funny name for him. So maybe just do that. Maybe each chapter from each, when you're in a character's point of view, they refer to the masked man by whatever you want that character to refer to the masked man as. Because you only have one of them, so it shouldn't be too confusing, and it's kind of funny because it keeps it in the point of view of the character. So maybe try something like that. And then you get to have the fun where you don't have to feel like you've committed to a single name for him. Oh, I like that. It might work. It might work. Let's see, what else? But yeah, it's so far thoroughly enjoying it. Thoroughly enjoying the story thus far, I think. Yeah, I think I'll hopefully be able to finish it by the end of this next sprint is gonna be what I'm aiming for. So, because then I gotta finish trying to go through this and fix this thing up. Although I think I got most of the errors out of the way, but I always have to. This is how you can tell I'm an old, I've been around too long, is that when I do my touches on editing, for whatever reason I have to print it. I have to print it to be able to read it and mark it. For whatever reason, I can't read it on a screen. I have to actually print it out and read it when I'm trying to find actual fine tune editing. I don't know why. I don't know why my brain works that way. I don't know if that's just because I did it that way for so long, but I've noticed I catch a lot more problems if I print it and read through it than I do if I'm doing it on an iPad or on a screen. I'm not a horror fan, but I've realized the amount of references. It really is. You do come off as a fan of the genre. I think maybe it's like my fear of flying and your fear of horror as a horror fan. I think you're mildly obsessed with horror movies while not being a fan of them. I think that might be what's going on here. You've been inundated and surrounded by it, and you find them oddly compelling, but they don't appeal to you in a way that you actually like. That you like. I think that might be what's going on. That's super cool. We need paper to think. Yeah, we do. It's why I still have to journal. I have to still write longhand. I use most of my short story writing is still done longhand. I do love me some Scream, though. And Scream is a horror movie that is built about commenting on and addressing and kind of being a satire of the tropes of literally 30 years of horror, of slasher films. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. You have a very interesting love hate relationship with slashers. It's very clearly, and that probably is why you like. Because Scream is kind of the comedy horror film. You're channeling a little bit of that here, I think. Yeah, it definitely is a big inspiration. I can tell. Um, you're channeling a lot of that into this story. It's simultaneously, but you're doing it in like the form of a whodunit. You're doing a whodunit that has an actual like Jason Voorhees slash Mike Myers. The unknowable evil behind the mask kind of thing. Um, it's kind of reminded me. There's a documentary slash horror movie called Behind the Mask. Um, that's like it's done like a mockumentary, like documentary, and then in the third act it shifts into an actual slasher movie. Even the costume that you have him in reminds me a little bit of that. But there is some really good funny lines in that where he's just like, because it's about them following a guy who's going to be a serial killer to go haunt a thing. So they're interviewing him the whole time while he's like getting prepared. And he's like, "Do you know how hard it is to like, you know how hard it is to like chase kids down, but every time they look at you, you're just walking? Like it's hard. It's hard to do." Anyway, should get back to writing. And we got someone gifting Ghostly a tier 1 sub. Thank you, anonymous gifter. But that is delightful. Thank you so much. And of course, I'm sure. Ghostly appreciates it, I imagine. At least then we can finally bypass the ads. All the stupid ads. But all right, we should probably get back to our sprints. So we'll go ahead and dive back into our sprint, and we'll see everybody on the other side. For everybody out there, we are going to have an ad drop at 25 minutes. So be sure to mute or kill the stream audio so you don't get blasted by commercials. All right, everybody. Happy writing, and we will see you on the other side. Ba, ba, ba. All right. Alrighty, there we go, and that is the end of that sprint, everybody. Let me bring the music down. And we will start the down timer. Alright. Alright. But now I have a list of questions. I'll shut up and listen. Okay, yeah. So I finished A Pretension Most Foul, Ghostly. Okay, so what do we got here? So yes, I think you should absolutely have your prologue chapter. Tear it to shreds. Yeah, it doesn't need to be torn to shreds. I am genuinely shocked you didn't have them go back in and have the body be missing or some sort of or some sort of like gag about the horror trope. But you know, that might have convoluted your ending a little bit. Just the sudden realization that he actually shot a person might be enough. Let's see here. Yeah, the biggest thing that took me out of it, honestly, was the perspective shift in the Theo chapter. The rest of what you've got going on here lands pretty well. The little chase back into the main room, where the brutal body is. No, I wanted the Stark ending. It was all we messed up. Yeah, that's better. I mean, I really, particularly after writing Jonathan, like Jonathan needs to end with mud on his face in some way, in some way. Although, as you've got a lot of funny lines in there, Ghostly. You've always had a lot of funnies, but the funniest line to me, and will probably always be the funniest line to me, will be, "I just wanted to murder some folks, and now I'm getting flack for it." Might be my favorite line in this whole thing. When you do break into Theo having enough of these people. That was my favorite line. But the Victorian child falling down a well is a close second. That's a good line too. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is I think it could be shorter in some places. The parts that I kind of like, that were tedious to get through. I think your room descriptions in B's chapter definitely need to be spicier. They definitely need a little bit more character. But other than that, a little bit maybe with some of the I mean the fight scene between Jonathan and Theo is pretty good. I think that might be because you kind of keep it in Jonathan's. I do love Jonathan's default reaction to when things don't go the way that he thinks they're gonna go, with just shit. Is pretty great. Like when Theo throws the chessboard, the bleeding fluff line from the chair is good. Yeah, the kind of some of the descriptions of action, I think, even with Jonathan running out of the hall and being chased. I don't know why. I feel like there's ways you could do it. You could trim it up, simplify it a little bit, because they just seem like they go on a little long. I think those are the things where I can just tell that you're trying to describe thing as like as a practicality, so people know what's happening. You know, you're just kind of like trying to get through the action. Yeah, I think that's the thing, is because that's where you're kind of, I can tell you're getting bored with it. So I think the biggest thing is try your best to make those descriptions as entertaining to you as possible, and then the reader's going to pick up on it. Because even I can, as I'm reading it, check out. I start to like check out and kind of gloss over the sentence when you're not, like, when I can tell you lose a little bit of your voice. It just becomes pragmatic, just for the sake of getting from point A to point B. That might be the biggest thing. That might be my biggest note about. And you don't, honestly, the first few chapters, it really only stuck out to me as parts of the Theo chapter and parts of the and B's chapter. A little bit at the beginning of your final chapter, but that's about it. So it just needs some polishing. There's some awkward language, you know. I mean, there's the usual, like, spelling, awkward phrasing. I think some of your sentences can get a little too outlandish, but but that's all just like polishing stuff. It's like sometimes the sentence doesn't make total sense. It's kind of like your sentence is outrunning itself a little bit, but that doesn't happen often. Where you get a little too wordy. Um, it's pretty clean. Yeah, I mean it's clean. The story itself is great, Ghostly. I think if you clean it up, work on your descriptions. No, the ending's not too abrupt. The ending works. Um, the ending works and it doesn't fall into I mean I might have Johann be a little bit more forceful about to shut Jonathan up. Because I think the only description line you have is that he just says, "I never hired an actor," as he waves his hand. I mean, I'd almost have. I don't know why it'd be funny if Jonathan, Johann slapped him or something, or just shook him. Something a little bit more like, "Shut up and listen to me. I never hired an actor," because Jonathan's just so smug that he would even think that Johann's still putting on an act, because he's so delusionally smug and convinced that he's correct. I like to slap, yes. Yeah, I that would be that's kind of where I would go. Like something to really smack, get him out of the headspace and be like, "Damn it, listen to me." Um oh, yes, of course. Can I get invite to your Discord server? Oh, of course. It should. All right, try that. Let me know if that doesn't work, Artemis Point. That should work. Um, but yes, welcome, welcome, welcome in. Um, yeah, I think the slap might work or something along those lines. But I don't think the actual ending itself is too abrupt at all. Um, honestly, I think it works. Yeah, great. Welcome in, Artemis. Welcome in. Um, but I think if you tried to drag it out, it would be too much. It would go too long. It's actually why it makes a lot more sense that you didn't do they go back in, they check the pulse, because they were clearly going to go do that. It's like too much in and out, in and out. Okay, so the Theo and Jump, how would you suggest I do that better? That's an interesting thing. I think I would to if you're gonna try to bounce from perspective to perspective, I think I definitely think having each person have their own name for him, referring to him by that name, so it gives us a hard shift in the perspective. Or what I would do is, instead of going back and forth, I would start with Theo and then have a hard shift to Jonathan, because so much of it is him. It's hard though. I feel like you lose too much if you go do a hard shift to Jonathan's point of view, because part of the funny line, like the funny interior that you get from so much of that, the comedy comes out of the fact that they're not communicating with each other. They are communicating, but they're not. Because I really like the bit where he's like waving his hands, being like, "I didn't hurt her. I didn't hurt the nice lady. I didn't hurt the nice lady at all." So I think you might it just like clear. Sometimes you can do that just with text. You can make it italicized. Um, honestly, I mean that's like a thing. You could just have Theo's point of view be italicized. You just make anything that you want to be from his interior world italicized, because it's nothing else in the story is really using italics. Um, and that's kind of like, so you can just so that gives the audience, "Oh, this is a new thing I'm reading," and so then they'll very quickly be like, "Oh, this is the killer's perspective." And then when you can kind of switch back into the italic when you want a different line later on to be the killer's perspective, and that's like a visual clue for the reader to be like, "Oh, okay, I'm back in this perspective now." That's nice. That's the only other chapter where you're ever getting Theo. Yeah, yeah. It's just because there's so much of the comedy of errors going on there between Jonathan and Theo, because so much of it is him pantomiming, trying to express to Jonathan what he's trying to say. But then you have that breaking point where he's like, I just wanted to do this. I've been like, these people are giving me flack. They've all been really shitty to me. So you still want that kind of breaking point. So I would say do like just italics, like that whole block in italics. Anything that's in his perspective in italics, or in some other bracket, or it's its own paragraph separated in some. It's almost like a visual identification that we're shifting a perspective. Um, Random question: was it at all weird? Any of the logic, like dead body? Nope, nope. The logic's fine. Oh, there is one thing, and then I promise we'll get started on the final sprint of the evening. But I do want to bring this up. We do need to talk about the dishes, because the dishes it's a hilarious thing, but it makes no sense, which is fine. It's fine to have something make no sense, but we never really get a sort of like, for something like that, because I know what you're doing structurally with it. Okay, oh, you have figured that. Okay, all right, you've got that figured out. I would honestly set that up some way with him getting flack all the time. It's like a weird OCD thing he's got or something like that. But if you've already got an answer for that, then that's the only thing that I'm like, I love it. It makes no sense, and I'm still don't understand why he does that. It's a funny quirk, but it's almost one of those funny quirks that at least requires the illusion of an explanation. I'm going to have him go in for an ice pack because of Henry clocking him instead. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that works. That makes more narrative sense. There is something weirdly compulsive I like about him doing the dishes, but it does feel like it requires more, because it's so weird. It's such a weird thing to have him do other people's dishes. It's so bizarre. Or or he could be having a snack. Like the killer himself wants a snack. Although he can't, because you do the whole bit with the staining of the mask, so it'd be hard to have him eat, I guess, under the mask. There is something very mundane about having a serial killer just, or like your monstrous Jason Voorhees just eating like a sandwich, but the ice pack makes more sense narratively. Um, Perhaps he goes in for the ice pack but sees the dishes and is like, "This is the new agenda." Yeah, you still have to explain why the dishes though. Like, what makes him what compulsive what why is it that the dishes set him off in a way that he actually will do the dishes? Like, what makes him be like that? It's so random that you kind of need, like clean. Like, he could need to be clean. Like after what happened with Henry and Joanna. Like, he feels so dirty, he feels so torn apart that he just needs to go be clean. So cleaning the dishes is like an expression of that. That's the hard thing. The hard thing is, like, at what point are you being too explanatory, but at the same time it doesn't feel too random. And at least that point it felt a little too random to me. But um but if you explain that in some way or can show it in some way, I would say the challenging answer is keep the dishes and make it work. The easy answer is make it an ice pack. Yeah. That's the easiest way to do it. All right. Well, I think. But other than that, Ghostly, it's fantastic. I think some editing, polishing, cleaning it up, and maybe reworking some of the descriptions. It's mostly the later chapters. I really do think that this should be something that you try to submit to, like a mystery, like short mystery stories or something like that. It's wickedly funny. So, and you don't get a lot of that. You don't get something that's deeply deeply funny, and also it's cheeky. It has things to say by also being dumb and stupid at the same time. So, thank you so much. Of course, no, thank you for submitting it. I do. I'm sorry it takes me a long time, but I do love to read. I do love to read all y'all's work. All you talented, lovely writers out there. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive into our last sprint of the evening. So for everybody out there who is working, let's go ahead and get to it, and we will see you on the other side. Happy writing, everybody, and away we go. God, the mic. Oh God, the mic. Okay, there we go, everybody. That is the end of that sprint. Also the final sprint of the night. The one where I struggle with the microphone. Totally forgot the quote. I'm just a hoe for... That is a great line. I'm just a hoe for Christian Bale is really, really, really good. Came out of Rod's mouth. That was a pleasant surprise. That is a great line, too. I'm just... the excitement. The excitement that Rod has for heartthrob British actors. I guess British and American because of Brad Pitt. 4 thumbs up. Thank you, Opera Soria. Okay, another question. Redeemed hydrate. Opera Soria will have to redeem that hydrate when I get water. Because I don't have anything. I'm out of water right now. But I will get it once I end stream. I will indeed hydrate. But everybody else out there, be sure you hydrate. Please hydrate. Stay hydrated. Okay, other question I remember. Is the character arc of Theo strange? Because he murdered a hiker on the table, then Rod and Carrie found him in the closet. Then he was looking at his self-help books. Then he pouted in the kitchen. Then he gets confronted by Jonathan. I don't know if he, as a character, makes sense or if it doesn't really matter. Can he just follow the horror movie logic because no logic? Or is that too crazy? I don't know, and I apologize for being long message. Oh, don't worry about it, Ghostly. I think you can get away with both. I actually think it makes sense, and it actually gives him an arc. It gives him an arc. So I would argue that... you could have it just be... It can just be random acts of violence. Oh, thank you. Thanks, buddy. Let's see. Right. Okay. So the I think you can get away with having it be either he just, because none of those characters really ever make any sense. They're just kind of the unknowable faces of evil. So they don't have arcs really, and usually when they do have arcs, it's lame. They're boogeymen essentially. What you've done here, I think, is actually, I think you've subverted the horror trope, which I think is better. Ghostly, was that Opera Soria, the power? Yeah, that was Opera Soria. That was Opera Soria bringing me water. the power. Yes. Yes. But I think that the big thing is that subverting the trope by actually giving Theo a bit of characterization, and I think you don't want to give Theo too much characterization because Theo is indeed supposed to be a boogeyman. He's the serial killing boogeyman, but giving him kind of a, I don't know, like a sense of, you know, I think particularly with B and the way that he treats B, and the fact that there's a weird sensitivity there. Like, they're used to being the boogeymen, and he falls completely flat against all of these characters. They just don't treat him as a boogeyman the whole time. It is kind of like their fear powers his power kind of thing. His power is their fear of him, and that's what gives him the power. Like, almost think of it like that's what he seeks, and he's not getting it. He's not getting the fear or the running away or any of the thrills he gets from that kind of murder. So he is just kind of deflated, and I think him getting the self-help book, those are some of my favorite parts. The self-help book specifically, and him just kind of patting B on the head because B is treating him like a human being. It does give him a sense of, like, is there a kind of, I mean, but serial killers don't really make any sense either. Like, they have a weird sense of honor, but it's not really honor, but there's some sort of, like, rules they follow that they impose on themselves. So I think, honestly, Ghostly, I think it's fine just having it be what it is. I think you make Theo a more interesting character by having those things in there, but I don't think it needs to make sense because those characters don't make sense in stories in general. And honestly, it probably makes Theo make more sense than Jason Voorhees, you know, or even Freddy Krueger for that matter. Because Freddy Krueger is just a spooky man. See, I followed the serial killer rules from Scream. Ah, yes. Well, because that is Scream is all about the rules. It's all about the horror movie rules because that's what it's commenting on, um, in that way. So, I think B is the good girl. She follows all the rules. She gets head pats. Yeah. Well, then yeah, I think that's yeah. I think yeah, because she kind of did. She hid and then hit him over the head, but then treated him like yeah. So she did kind of follow the horror movie rules. So actually, in a way, it makes sense that he would be appreciative of that in a point where he's being very vulnerable about no one taking him seriously. Um, yeah, yeah. I think it's fine. Theo is the way you have Theo written in terms of what he's doing is not a problem. I actually think it's one of the funnier, more unique things about the story. So I would keep Theo being that kind of weird boogeyman. And then I felt the need for Jonathan to get torn a new one. Yes, Jonathan. Anytime you were mean to Jonathan, I loved it. I loved all of it. I actually also kind of liked that you were almost implying. I couldn't quite tell the way you had written it, but you were almost implying that he was almost beating Jonathan at chest, which I would find supremely funny. If the boogeyman actually was beating Jonathan at chess, and he was like too pompously like arrogant to even notice that was happening, or when he did notice it, being like, oh shit, you're, oh whoops, because he does have that bit about underestimating. So, um, oh amazing, that would be that was a point of contention for me. Yeah, I think Theo's fine. I like Theo the way you have Theo written. I wouldn't change anything about Theo. So that would be outstanding. uh, I don't know. I do like I do enjoy just Theo. Anytime Theo just gets mud on his face, it makes me laugh. Final question: did you have a favorite chapter? Um, yes. I think I think the Carrie and I think the Carrie chapter might be my favorite. Also because I liked the self-help book. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I also really liked him I also got a good chuckle. Honestly, my favorite chapters generally revolved around when you started doing weird things with Theo. Um yeah. Yeah. I have to think. I have to think about that. I think the one that I think is the most polished is the first chapter still. Um, but that's generally how it goes. Lots of times, the opening chapter, you have a very clear idea of what you're doing, so it tends to be the more like polished chapter. Um, hmm, man, that's a difficult question. I have to think about that. There's bits I really like from all the chapters, so I'm trying to think if one chapter stands out as being overall the most like my favorite. Mm, yeah, I really like the ending. I think I think if you I think okay, so I'll say that I think that the Carrie and Rob chapter is probably overall my favorite. That's the one that I would like have the least amount of notes about. And also you have some really good punchlines and callbacks to the jokes. there. Um, I think that I do like in the Howard chapter he gets hit with how to be assertive. Yes, of course. Yeah, Max didn't and just in typical Max fashion, Max did not have to do much to live up to the hype at the very end. And I mean, you end on a great line. I mean, the last line of the story is fantastic. Yeah, yeah, that all works. And I do like the continuing, like, the sort of broad third person perspective. That's, oh, you're always bringing up the fact that Max is not able to be bothered by everything. You do lose that a little bit later on, I noticed, but the momentum of the story is kind of happening. But usually about after the third chapter, you stop mentioning Maximus. I think they mention him off maybe once after that. But I think that's fine. I think people won't forget that he's there. Um, Thank you. I had a lot of fun with the Rod and Carrie chapter. That's probably overall my favorite, just as it's written now. I think if you have Johann slap like just total full on come to your senses slap Jonathan in the last scene or in the last chapter and kind of and just polish up a little bit of the sort of like pandemonium that comes out of everyone being like, Jonathan, what the hell did you do after he fired the gun? And he's all like, I did it, everybody. I'm this, but like that might be my favorite chapter. I think with a little touch ups, that one probably would be the best because it is extremely funny. I also just really like that everyone automatically thinks he fucked up the whole thing, and then he did fuck up the whole thing. Yeah. So I think with some touch ups, that'll probably be my favorite chapter. But as it stands now, I'd say the Rod and Carrie chapter is my favorite. Yep. So those are my notes. I will now make it a conscious effort to add a call back to Max as a tongue-in-cheek when will he come along thing. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Or that he's yeah. Something. He could also be a good red herring too. That you think that's a very like Saw does it, or Agatha Christie's and Then There Were None. The dead man, the man in the room is actually the person who's faking it, and who turns out being the killer. It could be a good red herring. So that's always a fun thing that you can play with. But yeah, all right, everybody. I'm definitely going to use the slap the crap out of John thing. That seems too fun. Yeah, it seems it's good time. Good time. All right, everyone. I'm gonna go make food and probably watch movies and try to relax for the rest of the night. But for the rest of you, I wish you all well. Yes, Artemis, welcome in. Bye. Have a lovely, lovely time zone wherever you're at in the world. And for the rest of you, we'll see you next time. I'll probably be streaming later next week. There will be streams later next week, but I will probably be taking the first half of the week off. So, anyway. Oh, and a tier sub for Artemis Points. Delightful. Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful time, and we'll see you all later. Adios. Till next time.